More than 250 people show up to build the tradition of literacy with the United Way of Rock River Valley this afternoon. The organization hosts a fundraiser to gather support and remind the importance of family and schools in helping children access literacy and encourage them to read. United Way of Rock River Valley CEO Julie Bosma says the event raises awareness on a crisis. Only 1 in 3 children can read at grade level at the end of 3rd grade in Winnebago County.
We unite the way that the community solves its most difficult issues. So when we realize that literacy is one of our most difficult issues, and if we could get more people reading, crime would go down, poverty would go down, workforce would go up.